There we go.
There, the red
It's
light's
recording.
on. Hi, I'm Jan Schreiner. I work with the Santa Clara County Parks and Recreation Department. I'm called a park interpreter, which just means I'm explaining the language of the cultural and natural resources that we have in the parks. And today I'm standing in what the parks calls part of Santa Teresa Park. It's the historic site. It's the Bernal Gulnak Joyce Ranch. And that's 3 different family names, and that's what I wanted to start talking about with the filming. Do you want more information about my job? Because it's kind of a fun job.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
Okay, well, I am only here approximately 1 weekend a month, and the rest of the time is the ranch manager's name is John Dorrance. So Interpreter Dorrance is away this weekend. Unfortunately, I'm sure you'd have a fun time talking with your group. My job is I'm a kind of a floater, so I'm here 1 weekend a month. I'm also in classrooms a lot, visiting the elementary school children, explaining to them about the magical metamorphosis or incredible insects or animal adaptations, that kind of thing. And then the rest of the time I'm in field trips or our junior ranger program. I coordinate, right now I think we have 9 different parks running a program for 9 to 11-year-olds. And this summer we're going to try for the first time a drop-off youth jogging program. So maybe some of the high school students will come for that. We're going to run 7 different days. We'll be jogging on the trails. So I have a variety of work, and I love it. I love it because it's outside and it's teaching. But today it's about history. So why did parks keep this particular ranch house of all the ranch houses that were here in the Santa Clara Valley? And an important piece of that was because of the Juan Bautista de Anza colonizing expedition. It happened in 1776. It was representing the King of Spain. And it came into this area to try to make citizens really for Spain in order to maintain this territory for the King of Spain. And it was a pretty amazing expedition because it was a little over 200 people, and most of them were under the age of 18. So I think that's amazing, and I think half of them were under the age of 12. So a lot of youth with that colonizing expedition, and one of them was a 14-year-old named Jose Joaquin Bernal. And Jose Joaquin, as a 14-year-old, saw that year-round water that's up on the property and remembered this until he retired as a soldier and brought his family here as part of his retirement package, the land grant from the King of Spain in the early 1800s. And then he passed in about 1837, but his descendants went on to maintain the cattle ranch, and in some parts of the family, some of the cousins marry into other families. Like, you know, the Gulnak name was actually from one of the daughters, Rufina Bernal, marrying Charles Gulnak, and then the Joyce family married one of her relatives too. So it just is almost a timeline of California history, going from the King of Spain and then the other Europeans being married into the family. And that's why there are 3 family names on the ranch, but they are all related to the original Jose Joaquin Bernal through marriage. And so that's why they say the family lived here for 120 years. He came in the early 1800s, and Patrick Joyce, one of the last of the people who lived here, born in 1939, is still ranching in Santa Rosa area. So he donated the things that you see in this box. He's in his approximately mid-70s now, and occasionally he comes out here, and he's really a great guy to talk with. But he was here as a high school student when his father passed away on the hillside. The father, James Joyce, was riding horseback and had an accident in 1957, which is kind of weird. It's the same year I was born. But when he passed away, the 2 brothers, Patrick and I believe it was Michael, were in high school, and Patrick told me that they used to have to get up, do the chores, go to school, come back, do some more chores, and then do their homework. So it was a pretty challenging life after his father passed, but they maintained this ranch until getting into about the 1980s. And in the 1980s, already this development had been built, and the developer wanted to start making the nicer houses up on the hill. And another young man who was still in high school at that time, like the late 1970s, a guy named James Delgado was collecting things. And when they wanted to do the environmental work for the houses going up the hill, they sent out archaeologists who found James digging stuff up. And they're like, hey, kid, don't steal that stuff. We need that stuff. That's archaeology. And so he said, oh, I'm not trying to steal it. I'm making a collection. Back in the 70s, you know, people used to do that more often. And he had a whole collection of Indian artifacts. And so they looked over his things and were like, yes, this place is very significant, and building houses would be a problem for the archaeology of the area. So the developer was very disappointed. Of course, you know, they wanted to make a profit. And so they wanted to sell the property, but they wanted more for it than Parks could pay. As a government, Parks could only pay the appraised price. So IBM got involved. They're up on top of the hill, right? And they could pay the developer's price, or at least negotiate what it was. And they paid it, and then they traded with Parks some Parks property that was near their facility for this. So that's how IBM became an important part of the story. And James Delgado, the teenager, went on to be the curator for the San Francisco Maritime Museum. So he's approximately my age, probably looking at retirement if he hasn't already. But I think it's just so cool that there were teenagers involved in very important steps. Finding the place and then finding the significance of the place. So both Jose Joaquin Bernal and James Delgado. And to this day, we still have a lot of Eagle Scouts contributing projects, sometimes volunteering to help with things like movie nights here, where they have weird sci-fi movies and things about carnivorous plants and tarantulas and different things like that that John does. So that's Bernal Ranch, the long history and sort of where we are today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was